You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
The Indian Armed Forces may get the biggest reorganization since independence if the proposition of creating theatre commands is finalised. Essentially, Theatre Command is a unified command under which resources of all three armed forces, that is, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy, are integrated depending upon the threat or location. It has been the top agenda of Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat since his appointment in January 2020. However, the road has been bumpy since the announcement was made because not all services seem to be on board, especially the Indian Air Force, which has reportedly stated in the past that the implementation will be operationally unwise given the limited air assets of the force. Adding to the IF's hesitation for the formation of theatre commands was General Rawat's recent comment on the Indian Air Force being quote-unquote a supporting arm to the armed forces, just like the artillery or engineers in the army. Aside from the hesitations expressed by the IAF, there are several institutional questions about theatre commands which need further clarity. For instance, what would the structure of the command be like? Who will report to whom? And of course, there is the fundamental debate on whether India requires this move. To look at these questions, we spoke to former Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence Staff and the first Chief of India's Defence Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Kamal Dawar. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. The Indian military is currently divided into 17 single-service commands across the country. The Army and the Air Force have 7 each, and the Navy has 3. The sole tri-service theatre command is based in Port Blair. Now, the proposed theatre model will essentially involve the setting up of 5 integrated service commands. The proposed commands are the Northern Command, which will be along the border with China, the Western Command along the border with Pakistan, the Peninsular Command, the Air Defence Command, and the Maritime Command. The operational control of these commands will be headed by a 2-star general or equivalent rank, and the service chiefs will be responsible for funneling resources to the different theatre commands. However, according to media reports, the formation of these commands will be delayed since there is no consensus on command structures. According to a report by the Print, a recent high-level meeting between the CDS and service chiefs, where a concept note on the theatre command was discussed, showed that the services are not on the same page when it comes to something as fundamental as the structure of the command. But keeping aside the hesitations and challenges in the creation of theatre commands, why does India need this reform? Are previously learned lessons from our neighbors driving this move? Pertinently, given the current border tensions India has with China and Pakistan, is the timing right? Lieutenant General Kamal Dawar states that given India's formidable challenges both independently and with our armed neighbors, India should have implemented theatre commands much earlier.
At the outset, let me add, and I have no hesitancy in saying so, that the concept of jointness is somewhat alien to the Indian military system. A country as vast as India with formidable challenges, both independently and in collusion from formidable nuclear-armed neighbors, China and Pakistan, we should have had theatre commands much earlier. Now, the Indian Armed Forces senior hierarchy should have insisted with the political authority much earlier. Even, I must add, synergy or the required synergy between the civil and military cooperation, and this has not been of the desired high order. Some steps have been taken in recent years, though. Now, be that as it may, after the Kargil War 1999, the deficiencies in our higher defense management had come to the surface. The Kargil Review Committee was set up, and they did a wonderful job with the then Vajpayee government and their group of ministers accepting the necessity of the Chief of the Defense Staff and the raising of many inter-services organizations. Now, the CDS naturally would lead the armed forces through the theatre commands concept as it happens in the rest of the world. Yes. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you what is a theatre command. Now, a theatre of war is the entire land, sea, air expanse that is or may become involved directly in war operations. Now, theater warfare became more prominent during World War II, with battles being fought across continents. What is a theater? You see, the theater covers the entire geographical expanse, incorporating the three services: the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. And their deployments, where and as applicable, where the three services are driven by a single mission, fighting in a unified command, in a unified manner, under a unified commander. Now, all great powers, the United States, United Kingdom, France, and now China, which is the latest and the recent entrant into the theater concept. Mind you, the theater command concept emerges from an expeditionary orientation. We in India do not have that expeditionary force character yet. Now, what does India have today? India today has 17 military commands. The Army has 7, the Air Force has also 7, the Navy has 3. We also incidentally have the Tri-Services Command, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Command, and the Strategic Forces Command, which looks after India's nuclear war preparedness and the like. Thus, a total of 17 plus 2. 19 commands. Now, leaving aside the last two I mentioned, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Command and the Strategic Forces Command, the CDS, as per reports, wishes to have 5 unified or theater commands. Later may be augmented by joint training and logistics commands too. Now, the basic point is that most military experts feel that the theater command concept will synergize the resources. Joint planning and a unified approach will not only be cost effective, but will enhance our operational capabilities, leading to more than successful mission achievement. Now, unity in command and the merging of your operational capabilities naturally will become a major force multiplier.
The idea of theatre commands is not new to India and has been recommended at various levels of military and government since the 1999 Kargil War. In a paper authored by Patrick Bratton of the US Army War College, the Kargil Review Committee observed that there was a serious lack of synergy among the three armed forces, and theatre command was one of the recommendations by the committee. Now, many major powers in the world have a theatre command structure, particularly those who use their military as a soft power like the US, UK, France, and even Commonwealth countries like Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. At present, the Andaman and Nicobar Command, established in 2002, is India's sole tri-service command, which begs the question, if theatre commands or joint operational commands are common among other countries, why has India taken so long to develop them? Lieutenant General Rawat states that the reluctance of the armed forces and the civil administration is the primary cause of India's sluggish move towards theatre commands.
I think it has just been the reluctance from within the armed forces to have theatre commands, and I'm sorry to say, even our political authority, the civil bureaucracy, the government and all, they've not pushed the armed forces into ensuring that please get on with it, and we want the theatre command concept to come up, because theatre command concepts are not only operationally sound, but they are also financially sound. It's just that we have been a little sluggish in as regards the establishment of theatre commands are concerned.
In the paper, Bratton further observed that, quote-unquote, in terms of organizational and operational culture, the Air Force has been the most resistant to the concept of jointness that focuses on the creation of either a CDS or theatre commands. He adds, and I quote, the Air Force strongly believes in the primacy of indivisible air power and centralizing its assets to effectively use them in wartime. You can find a link to Bratton's paper in our show notes. Now, as far as why the IF seems to have reservations with the theatrization of armed forces, well, according to an Indian Express report, the IF does not want the Air Force Chief to lose operational control of its assets and further division of the air assets between different commands. When asked about the theatrization of armed forces on 2nd July, Air Chief Marshal Bhadauria asserted that the IF is fully committed to the process, but that they must get it right. His statements come after General Bipin Rawat addressed concerns of the Air Force on the creation of theatre commands, saying, and I quote, as far as Indian Air Force is concerned, the entire airspace of the nation will be looked after by only one Air Defence Command. Lieutenant General Rawat speaks on the IF's hesitation for jointness and General Rawat's statements on the IF as a support role.
You see, first of all, I'll just finish with General Rawat's comments that it is a supporting arm. Well, I'm sorry, with due respects to our Chief of Defence Staff, I totally disagree on this concept of his. The Air Force is as a service. And what is their? They have many roles, multiple roles, but the major role is they are the guardians of our skies, over land, over sea, and they are a very crucial contributor in accompanying military missions, both at the strategic and the tactical levels. They feel that the Indian Army or the Navy doesn't understand multi-domain ops. That is also slightly wrong. But I think the CDS really didn't mean what he said. He just said it, I think, when perhaps prodded by the media as regards the Indian Air Force's reluctance. The Indian Air Force surprisingly has also been reluctant at the concept of the Chief of the Defence Staff. What to talk of theatre commands? But they have now accepted it. The point we should all remember is that by a process of discussion, by a process of wargaming certain situations, we can arrive at the best possible solution. And so we must not push anybody into accepting something which that service feels is operationally not feasible, or it will be operationally it will not be conducive to ensuring the right amount of enhancement or augmentation of combat capabilities and or mission accomplishment as far as the nation is concerned. And as I told you, that air power is a very crucial contributor, and they can indulge, having properly used, the Air Force can be a very successful conflict termination machine by themselves. For example, without going into any details, what happened in World War II? Just how did World War II terminate? The American Air Force sent a few planes with nukes, armed with nuclear bombs. They threw a few nuclear bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and World War II ended. So you cannot underplay the very, very critical, crucial role of the Indian Air Force and the formidable power they represent. But having said that, the Air Force also has to realize, and they keep saying that we are down to 32 squadrons, and our resources will be split and all that. And will be split, and we'll be very thin on the ground. And initially, we want to achieve what they used to call in the good old days a favorable air situation or air superiority. The Air Force has its own role, but it will have to earmark also certain elements from its total force in support of army and naval operations. So all these things have to be looked into, on a situational basis. Now, how do you prosecute your war aims, your war strategies? So there's nothing very, there can't be very divergent opinions. If let's say air effort is required initially to achieve, these are old terms which I'm using, favorable air situation in combat air superiority and things like that. Well, then the resources can be earmarked accordingly, and some resources even lesser for the army and the navy. But these are matter of details and planning and management which can be done by the services themselves. So there's nothing for anybody else to come and comment. So I'm sure it's a matter of time that the Air Force will get over its reluctance as regards these theatre commands, and the Indian Armed Forces will provide total victory in any eventuality, any national security challenge which confronts India. So by synergy of all the three operational capabilities, by enhanced interoperability, which we will achieve, I'm sure, as the months go past. I would just like to make a small suggestion here. If there is a serious problem, let's say, occurring, and which should not actually come out in the public domain, the government of India, they have these interministerial committees. They are formed and given to understand to thresh out certain issues. The government can also actually appoint a committee outside the government outside the government of well-known experts who can suggest, and don't have to delay very much, just give them a month or two, and they can come out with some suggestions how to achieve how to achieve what is the best configuration and the contours of theatre commands.
The creation of theatre commands is clearly high on the agenda of the CDS. However, several institutional questions still remain in the air which need to be addressed to ensure a smooth transition to this new level of warfare. If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.